Here's my front. First of all, you can see my curls, my curly hair, my glasses. And so I have happy, successful, and expert. So, I portray, I feel like I demonstrate to the world happiness and positivity. My nickname is Smiley. Successful. Oh, I'm always doing something cool or publishing a book or speaking. And this expert, I always get hit up for advice, and people are like, "Oh, he knows what he's talking about," and feel like I sometimes kind of have to, be that.
I'm able to like manage anybody else's expectations because I downplay anything, which is oh man, ooh, that may be connected to this back that's about to come out. Because why do I do that? Like, why do I know why I do that. I know why I do that. Let me tell you why. So
I want to hear that too. I should be 3 times as smart, 3 times as successful. Why does it feel like I'm 3 times less successful? So that's been coming up for me of just like kind of like, wait, like, am I going backwards? Like, like I feel like I have less in the toolkit, less answers.
welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's guest is Smiley Poswolsky. Smiley is a millennial workplace expert. He's an international keynote speaker, and he's the author of a new book called Friendship in the Age of Loneliness. We don't talk much about all of those jobs and titles and things like that, but we do get a chance to connect around these masks. I have long had opportunity to really connect with Smiley in a global leaders community, and Smiley has been a really good friend. I'm so thankful for him being a writer, and as I'm an aspiring writer, and I talk about writing a book that's making progress. It's still not where I need to be, but I'm making progress. Smiley has always been a person when I would see him who just had a positive energy around him. Not only does he have an amazing smile, but just feeling like he felt like it was a really good connection. When I would do these workshops at this Global Leaders Summit, we would take the mask off with hundreds of people from all over the world, from 20, 30 different countries. And at the end, Smiley would say, "Man, that was a powerful workshop again, Ashanti." But he and I never connected on an individual basis. So I never knew what he talked about when I didn't see what I was seeing on the outside. And this time, today, I get a chance to talk to Smiley about the mask, to learn more about what's behind the smile, what else is in addition to the smile. And, I think there's a movement going around where they said, check on your strong friends. Because sometimes the people who are keeping it all together on the outside, people just think that they're doing it by magic. And sometimes people never ask you how you're doing for real. And I'm glad I got to do that with Smiley today. Maybe you haven't yet had a chance to make a mask. Maybe you've been hearing people make masks and you've been like, well, maybe I'll do it one day. I want to invite you to do that today within the next 24 hours, ideally now. But if you're not able to do that, I'm going to invite you to go to 100kmasks.com. And I want you to think of the mask. When we describe the mask to people, the mask is a representation of what we let the world see. Some people get stuck in that question because they think I'm asking, what does the world see about you? And that's not what I'm asking, because we don't get to choose what they see, but we do choose what we let them see about us. And the mask, the front of the mask is the things that are on the front, which we let people see. And then we talk about the back of the mask, which are the things that we often don't let people see. This mask, this representation of ourselves, is what we are inviting people all over the world to be a part of. And we want you to be a part of that as well. If anybody in your life who is always keeping it together on the outside, maybe you could share this podcast with them. Maybe they can recognize that, yep, they do a really good job at that. And maybe sometimes there's more going on with them too than anybody can ever see on the outside. Thank you for being a part of the Million Mask movement. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. And we hope that it will continue to add value to you and that you will share it with anybody in your life who you believe it can add value to as well. Welcome to Taking Off the Mask. Enjoy the show. Well, welcome, Smiley. Welcome to the million. Yeah, welcome to what? Where are we at right now? Monday. It is Monday. It is Million Mask Movement Monday, but that's not what we're doing right now. All right. Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. I'm so glad to have you here with us. We've been working on pulling this day together, and I'm really excited that we were able to pull it together today. So thank you for being here. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you, Ashanti, for having me. We're really good to be here.
Man, I'm excited about this conversation. It's been a long time. I mean, we've been chatting, but to go into a deep space, I'm excited about that. What I would like you to do is I like to have our guests just introduce themselves so that, you know, we'll have your bio and stuff, but I want you to introduce yourself to the folks who are listening and tell them about yourself, what you're up to, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name's Smiley. That's my nickname. My mom didn't call me Smiley. My birth name is Adam, but I go by Adam Smiley Poswolsky. I live in San Francisco, California. I am an author, a public speaker, millennial workplace expert, entrepreneur, community builder. And I've written 3 books. The Quarter Life Breakthrough, which is about finding meaningful work, specifically for millennials and young people looking to find work and build a career with purpose. The Breakthrough Speaker, which is a career guide for public speaking. And my most recent book that comes out this May is called Friendship in the Age of Loneliness, all about building human connection and friendship in the digital age and the power of healthy relationships in our lives. Yeah, and I spend a lot of my time when there's not a pandemic like Ashanti going around and speaking at schools, universities, business schools, companies, trade associations, conferences, all about topics like millennials in the workplace, employee engagement, company culture, helping people find meaningful work, helping companies build a healthy, inclusive culture. And I've been doing a lot of that virtually now, obviously, on Zoom and online, but hope to get back out there soon when it's safe to do so. And yeah, I really believe in empowering people to do their best work and helping people make their creative dreams come true, and the power of community and how we can lift each other up.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Smiley and I, we go back a little ways, and in his book Breakthrough Speaker, I had the privilege of him talking about me in that book. I was excited to be asked, and I think that it is a really connection that we made in some deep healing spaces. And when I say healing, sometimes people are like, well, what are you talking about healing? Just a space to be able to become more of our full selves. That's when I talk about healing. And so we got a chance to do this mask activity several times in the same room, even though we weren't face to face talking to each other. We got to be in the same space, and that for me is really meaningful. So, you're not new to the mask activity, but this is a new format because we're actually normally when we do the mask, and we've done it in the past, I think Smiley has seen the evolution of this work, folks. When we first started this movement, we had pieces of paper that we would write on the front and the back. It was like the front was the front of the mask and the back was the back of the mask. And then we would take these pieces of paper and ball them up, and people would throw them into the middle of the room.
Snowball fight.
The snowball fight. Epic snowball fight, snowball right? Fight. I take people on a little visualization. Okay, close your eyes. It's getting cold in here. And then we went from the papers to cards, and we walk around, pass around the cards. And now we have this digital version, which is really just it wasn't even planned from the beginning. I didn't even know what I was doing in the beginning, but it made the next step made sense while it was happening, So
yeah.
And today you and I go back to the cards and we get to share them together.
Yeah. And it's a true honor to see your work evolve and see the impact you've had and the amount of people that you've reached with this. So I just want to say that just before we start, I mean, I feel like we've done been in that room together, I don't know, 10 times or something. But now just to see you taking it all around the country and globally is remarkable. And I'm proud of you, and I'm happy to be part of the experience at this point right now too.
Yeah, I'm glad you are, man. I would say like hundreds of people. Smiley has seen hundreds of people create a mask and get to that place of like when they finally realize they can hand it off, they get relief. Right. But now we don't get to hand ours off. We're gonna like actually share them with each other. So it's another level of this engagement, and I'm really thankful that you're willing to be here. And I'm excited. So for any of
Me
you out
too.
there that are trying to like, what's going on with these masks? You can go to 100kmasks.com and you can make your own mask. So, and you will be able to make it anonymously. But what Smiley and I are going to do right now is we're going to share ours publicly. And so the way we do it, Smiley, is you let the guests decide who goes first. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? And we'll share like front, then back. But who do you want to go first?
Let's have you go first.
Okay. All right. So I'm going card style. So I'm gonna try and cover up the back here. And okay, here we go. Get a little closer. Okay, so there we go. The front. We got funny, serious, and if you can read my writing really good, it says hardworking.
Hardworking, yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I didn't put caring on this one this time. Maybe I was been so busy today that I didn't like drop into like I've been using the word caring a lot lately that I don't usually put, and I'm actually interested why I didn't write it right now. But funny, serious, hardworking are those that are more. I think deep down, I care a whole lot, and probably some people would miss it because I'm so focused on being serious and hardworking. And funny, sprinkles in there once in a while for a little levity. But yeah, that's what the front is today. Funny, serious, and hardworking. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my front. First of all, you can see my curls, my curly hair, my glasses. And so I have happy, successful, and expert. So, I portray, I feel like I demonstrate to the world happiness and positivity. My nickname is Smiley. Successful, I'm always doing something cool or publishing a book or speaking. And this expert, I always get hit up for advice, and people are like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. And I feel like I sometimes kind of have to, be that. So yeah, that's my front.
Thank you for that, man. Thank you. When you said the word expert, it really it hit me in a way that like a couple of weeks ago, I was getting introduced to somebody and they were like, and I don't have the word expert in my bio, but they added their own words and they were like, he's an expert in this. And I felt like, so like, who is he talking about? Like, right? Like, I don't claim, right? Like, wait a minute, wait. And I was like, I felt myself just getting like worked up before I even said my first three words. Cause now it's like the expectations were like set out to be like, I didn't write that. I didn't write that in my thing because of my own fear, my own, like,
right.
I've been doing this work for 16 years plus. Like, I know a lot, but I think I'm able to like manage anybody else's expectations because I downplay anything, which is oh man, ooh, that may be connected to this back that's about to come out. Because why do I do that? Like, I know why I do that. I know why I do that. Let me tell you why. So
I want to hear that too.
Yeah, a fear of failure. That's really messy. Failure.
Yep.
Sadness, and I wrote mental health and I normally write mental health around my brother because I have a brother who has mental health really challenges. But like, when I wrote it today, I was thinking how much I've been more conscious of my own thinking and the like my prevailing negative self-talk. Because I've been really working on my own. Like, I'm really good at uplifting other people, right? And I don't often uplift myself. And I think that I've been working on that with my mentor around like, why don't you tell yourself that you're amazing or that you're awesome? Why don't you? And I'm just like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even though I make time for it for everyone else in my life. And so I think deep down, when I think about my fear of failure, is because if you don't expect much, then I can't fail at that not much, right? And I think it's weird. Like, it's weird because I present a lot, and I'm really proud of the work I try and do. But I also, when I get in front of the audience, I'm like, hey, look, I'm not here to have an intellectual experience with you. I'm here to talk about your heart, right? Because if it's intellectual, then you can judge me on what I know. If it's in your heart, then I'm just speaking from my heart, and I think I do a lot of self-protection. I've never even thought about that till right now. Like what I do to self-protect this fear of failure, or to downplay the fear of failure, because it's real often. And I think like that's what's really present right now. And I think when I talk about sadness, normally this is a really interesting max today, because normally I write sadness about death, because normally I'm talking about the death of my father, right? But as I've been working on that wound and really help let that wound heal, I think sadness is there's probably other layers of sadness that I don't talk about. And I would say, if I could name one piece right now, I would say like not being as far as I thought I would be at this point. Right? Like I thought I've been running this organization for 16 years. I wasn't full time. I was doing it as well. I was teaching, but 16 years. Somebody reminded me today, you've been doing it for 16 years? I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I have. And I would think I would be so far along, right? I would have, so much farther. And I think it's because I compare.
Right.
I spend too much time comparing. And one of my mentors says, comparison is a thief of all happiness. And totally. So therefore, man, those are what's present right now. I didn't plan. Normally I don't go first. So normally I feed off of the energy of the guest who tells me how deep to go. So I don't know what I just did right there, but
I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I resonate with a lot of what you said. So I'll go. Still got the curls. So I put lonely, sad, and unsure. I think with lonely, that's really coming up for me today. I mean, we've been now in the pandemic for over a year. I really miss my friends. I miss I'm a people person, man. You know that. That's like the work we do. Not just the work we do, like the life we live, right? Like I spend my time going into rooms of people and feeding off their energy and, giving people high fives and hugs and getting people pumped up. I'm like the MC, or, even if you're not, I'm the MC or the host or the speaker, they're still the MC, right? You're the hype person, right? That's what I do for a living, really. And I don't have that. And I hadn't have that. I haven't had that in months. And, and obviously you can go on walks with people, and we got the Zoom and, Instagram chat, whatever, but I'm really feeling that today, just missing people, missing the human connection, the touch, physical touch. And so that's real present for me. It's been present for a long time, but I just feel like when I sat down to do this today, that's where I was at. And then sad, I miss my family. They're on the East Coast. I got to see them last summer, which was really special, but I haven't seen them in a long time, and I miss them. My nephew is almost 18 months right now. He's the cutest kid. Luca is his name. I'm just feeling kind of sad there. And I think that's connected to the loneliness of just missing people and, feeling like at the one hand, like we're almost there, we're getting close to being able to kind of go back to normal, but at the same time, it's definitely not normal out there, And so it's just this period of like, what are we doing? Like, what does it all mean? Where are we headed? And just grappling with all that. And also just frankly, the sadness of the suffering of this, like every now and then I was listening to a podcast this morning about long haul COVID and people that have had like such awful experiences with this disease. And it's just like, and it's just random, people are just like, they get sick, maybe because of where they work or where they live, or because their cousin got sick, their friend got sick, and it's rough, man. So I feel that sometimes, all the time, but especially today. And then unsure is kind of in the direction of what you were talking about a little. Like I I'm an expert. It's in my bio, right? Like a millennial workplace expert, which I think I made that title up one day. And some people don't even think it's real. It might not even be real. I don't think you can't get a doctorate in millennial workplace. You can't get a degree. There's no universities that give out diplomas in millennial workplace, right? But so I think, like, you know, I sometimes walk in a room and I'm like, yeah, I got this. I'm an expert. Or, you know, I'm writing a book or getting published. I'm like, I'm the expert. I know what I'm talking about. And then sometimes, you know, I've been having this experience with trying to market my book and be like, I don't know what I'm doing at all. I've done this. This is my third book, Ashanti. My third book. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm like throwing you know, darts at the wall, see what sticks. I feel like I'm just kind of like in the dark. Like, I think maybe if I, you know, just, and that's how I feel sometimes, a lot of times. But I've been feeling that a lot recently, of just like, I don't know the answers. I don't know what to do. A lot of people think I know what to do, and sometimes I feel like I know what to do, but right now I feel like I'm just trying. And you know, it's, we'll see. And you kind of hope for the best, and you but I just feel a lot of doubt, a lot of insecurity, a lot of unsure. And like, also, like, I don't want to fail, you know. It's like, wait, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. This isn't my first rodeo. This is my first book. This is my third book. I should be 3 times as smart, 3 times as successful. Why does it feel like I'm 3 times less successful? So that's been coming up for me, of just like, kind of like, wait, like, am I going backwards? Like, you know, like, I feel like I have less in the toolkit, less answers. And just sitting with that a little bit.
Man, thank you for that. You know, one of the things I want to tell you that my one of my my mentors told me a couple of weeks ago. I imagine you do a lot of practices to help find being kind to yourself, but it's something that I don't do. So it's my lesson. He said, what are we dealing with right now in the world? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you got a book that's coming out. Your other book didn't come out during the pandemic, I don't think. Yeah. So kind of like this idea of like, I'm comparing like this other world to this current world. And then I'm like, why am I not doing as well as I think I should be doing? And it's like, well, maybe if we just recognize that there's something happening around this area, you know. If you watch the TV news, something like, if you know that there's some, because I think that many people are feeling what you're feeling. I'm glad you named it and spoke to it, because I think that I know, you know, as a nonprofit, I'm trying to raise money, right? Like, as always, I'm always trying to raise money, right? And it's like, well, how do you ask people for money knowing how many people are struggling? You know, even our people who just give us $20, $50, what, I feel even responsible not to be like, hey, help us, all knowing how much is going on in the world. And I think they're not telling me not to ask. It's me sometimes over protecting. I don't know. That's what I feel. It's like sometimes, like, but if you don't ask, then they can't say yes, and some can say yes, and some may not be able to. But if you don't give them opportunity, then, you know. So it's like I have to go through the dance with myself of like, nah, you don't be bothering people. Like last year, like 2020, like we lost everything. You know, you and I were talking on some. I was seeing you on social media, on LinkedIn. You know, like trying to help speakers who, like, people were trying to pay you half of what you normally ask for, because they're like, well, you're virtual, so you're not really real. So, you know, we can't, like, all that stuff, like having to have these conversations with organizations, like, well, our rates are still, this is our rates, you know, still my knowledge.
This is our work.
Yeah. Oh man. And I already don't like having the money talk anyway. So necessarily now I'm like having to prove that I'm, or even doubly prove that I'm, oh, you're not flying here, therefore you shouldn't be paid what you're, it's always the dance, right? And I think I've been doing a lot of work on, you know, on that around my own self, you know. So thank you, man, and thank you for putting this book out. I think your book is talking about friendship.
Yeah.
Right. The book is talking about friendship. Tell me the title again, so we can hear the title.
Friendship in the Age of Loneliness.
Yeah, man. I was at a school the other day, middle school, and one boy, when he was doing his check-in, he was like, when they get a chance to speak out loud, he made his mask and then he spoke out loud. He said, I've been feeling really lonely. And I was so proud of him. Like, here's what I know. I had a really, strong mother, really tough mother. Like, I don't think I've ever went to my mom and said, I feel lonely. Because in my mind, here's what my mom would say. You got siblings in there. How you lonely?
Right.
You got family here. How you lonely?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying she would say that. I love my mom, but I'm saying, like, if I was just to think about what she would say, and I know that I've heard parents who have this context that you can't be feeling what you're feeling because I've already protected that feeling.
Right.
You can't be feeling like you're lonely because you got people in this house that are with you. And I think sometimes we miss that there's so much more to whatever that feeling is than having people around.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about loneliness is that it's the science, like the definition is the subjective difference between how you're feeling and your expectations of how you should feel. Right? It's the gap. Especially for young people right now and everyone, it's like the gap is enormous because you're like, everyone is spending so much time like looking at other people being like, man, they're having so much fun. They're out there on TikTok. They're on Instagram. Look at look who they're hanging out with. Look what they bought, or look at their whatever.
That's right.
And then you're seeing that being like, whoa, they're not lonely. I'm lonely. Like, I want that. I miss that. I need that. Probably though, they're probably going through the same thing you are. and the data shows that, right? It's like 60% of Americans are lonely. 60%. 80% of Gen Zers, so like folks that are young in their 20 and younger, are lonely. During the pandemic, there was data. This is a global study that found that nearly one in 2 young people globally in 7 different countries, and it's a 50,000 person study. 1 in 2 young people was experiencing, during the pandemic, something that would be considered a mental health, like clinical mental health disorder, or something that was a serious issue. And it's all connected, right? Because people are missing their friends, and we're not talking about it. Right. So that's like one of the things I wanted to normalize with this book, was just being able to be like, it's okay to be lonely. When I first pitched this book a couple of years ago, and started writing it, and when I first was talking to the publisher, they were like, we like, great idea, you're a great writer, good idea. Loneliness can't be in the title. And I was like, what do you mean? They were like, we love friendship. You can put loneliness maybe in the subtitle, can't be in the title. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, no one wants to say that they're lonely. No one's going to pick up a book that says, yo, I'm lonely. Like, I need this. And I was like, well, we do need it. That's why I wrote it, because I was feeling lonely, because all my friends are also lonely. This is the point of the book. And they're like, yeah, we get that, but we can't have loneliness in the title. And it was only when the pandemic happened that they were like, oh, we love the title, like loneliness. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Now it's cool,
Yeah.
But it was kind of like normalizing it. I mean, it's awful that it took the pandemic for us to talk about it more frankly, but maybe that is a silver lining or a positive, that we could all say, oh, this was actually really going on before for most people.
Yeah.
A lot of us were experiencing it.
Yeah.
Now it's out in the light, right? Now it's kind of like we can see it.
Yeah.
We feel it. It's a universal experience of, oh, we went through this past year and a half together of social isolation, of quarantine, of not really being able to see our friends. Let's talk about what that feels like the rest of the time for most people, and how hard it is for young people, especially young men, as you do with your work, because people have been feeling this for a long time, and they haven't felt like they have. It's not just about you can be lonely having lots of social connections, right? Like that's one of the things that I discovered of why I was writing this book was, I'm a social dude, like you, we go to events. I got connections, I got Facebook friends, I got Instagram followers, I meet new people, I got a whole stack of business cards in the closet. I can bust out the shoebox. Like, that is something, and there's some value there,
Yeah,
but you can still be lonely with social connections because
that's
it's
right.
the gap of what you're looking for. You're looking for something more meaningful,
That's
something
right.
deeper, more
Yeah.
vulnerable, that space.
Yeah.
And I was lacking that. And so let's make it okay to be lacking that. Like we can all we're all searching for that. So let's talk about that more.
I think when you said that part is really important, right? With the gap between what you're looking for. Like if I am looking for love from friends, family, connection, community, and no one ever says it, maybe that like I knew my mom loved me, and it would be once in a while you would hear it, right? But I think it was like how often, like because what we sometimes need, we don't feel comfortable asking for. Well, at least
Right.
I'll speak for me. I know that sometimes there's something that I need, but I don't ask for it because I don't feel like I don't feel like I deserve it. Probably part of it. Probably I don't feel like asking for it makes me look like what the world says a man should look like. You gotta be tough and strong. You can't be asking nobody that you don't be asking for a deep connection, friendships, like right because like some people don't think that that's cool. Like, and I think that the worry oftentimes blocks us from getting what we need. I think when you talked about the phones, I was saying it's like sometimes we're comparing our behind the scenes lives to everyone else's highlight reel,
Exactly.
right? And so we get everyone's highlight reel, and we're like, oh my god, everyone's doing so amazing. Man, don't they know that my desk looks horrible right
Yeah.
here? Like, don't they see? Like, like I,
Right.
like all the stuff that I dealt with before getting to right now and making this little podcast. Like I don't talk about all the 5 things that didn't go the way I wanted them to go.
Right.
And there's a poem I just heard today, which was like, I forgot the name of the author. It's gonna come to me, but it's like it's not the big things that causes people to really get stuck around dealing with whatever their mental health is, right? I think the same thing with young people. The studies you talked about, it's not the big stuff because we know there's some things that we just recognize are part of life, right? This thing, big in the big picture, people recognize they can't do anything about there is a global pandemic. They can't do anything about it. We can do our part, but we can't
Sure.
change it, right? But it's all the small stuff that we don't deal with at the all along, right? It's the friend that hasn't responded to our text. It's the relationship that's going a little haywire. It's the car like that is not working like we wanted to. It's the all the small stuff that we don't talk about. What ends up happening is what I see, and definitely this work with the young men, is that they'll latch on to one of those bigger things, and it's like I'm mad because this thing, and he's like, okay, well, let's talk about that. But what all the 25 other things that you're not talking about that you're in your mind saying they're not big deals, but they are, and they're adding up to this one, right? And that's what we see.
Right.
And so I think the part of that work of what you're talking about, and maybe um, I'll ask this question just in terms of because you mentioned your nephew, your Luca, right? And I think I had a situation yesterday where my niece's birthday, and I almost forgot about it. It was like 2. It was like 1:30. The party's at 2. I'm gonna be late, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just not gonna go. I'm just not gonna go. I'm not. I gotta drive, 45 minutes or a half hour away. I'm like, and she just started talking to me. Like she, for her first 3 years of her life, she would hide behind my brother or behind her mom. She would like they're saying I can talk to him, but I'm not like I was just scary to her, right? And
Right.
literally, like in the last month, she started talking to me, like talking, like saying hi, like
Oh.
right, like, and I was like, Ashanti, you're gonna wait until she finally started saying hi and then start pulling back, which is oftentimes we may do that with our friends too, right?
Right.
Like when we're ready to talk and they're not available or ready, and then we're like, okay, fine, they don't want to talk, then I'm not going to talk. And then
Yeah.
finally, when they come around, we're like, because we're in so many different places at so many different times, right? And I think, how do we make space for each other to know that everyone's going to be on a different timeline in terms of when we're ready to be having some of those deeper conversations like we're having right now. Like, thank you. I'm so glad you shared those things because I think that's some of the things that we're helping young people recognize that you're not alone.
Yeah.
There's so many more people going through, but because we look at it with our eyes, because we judge the highlight reel, we don't get a chance to know that people are also feeling similar things.
Yeah. And I think it's like, you mentioned the kind of the invitation. I think if if that's like the little thing that we can do, right, is be someone in the world that kind of is creating that invitation.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, if you're also down to really talk, if you also are looking for something deeper, like you have a little like beam coming out, like a little like light bulb, and someone's like, oh, cool, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember for me, when I think back of my youth, I feel like that for me didn't I really didn't feel that until high school. So I grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Went to a big public high school, 2,000 kids,
Mm.
and kind of felt pretty lost. Just it's a big school, a lot going on. I was small, and like it's just like that was I was in high school, 1997 was freshman year of high school for me, so
Yeah.
a while ago. Um, and it wasn't until like I went out for track team, cross country, which
Mm.
was like the only sport I was even good enough or able to do. I mean, I was not going to play football, just not a big dude. Our soccer team was really, really good, like one of the best in the state. And I played soccer as a kid, but I wasn't good enough to be on the team. So I just went out for cross country. I actually didn't even know what the sport was at the time. I didn't know. I figured, yeah, it's like, okay, I'll do it. I want to do a sport like that's going to be good for me, right? And it's just running. Cross country is just running. You go run 3 miles or 5 miles or 10 miles or whatever. It's the sport that happens in the season when there's not indoor or outdoor track. It's just running. there's no track either. You just run outside in the rain, snow. Uh, so we're like, it was a couple weeks into practice, and we're running hills, just hill workout. That's what you do, just run up and down the hill over and over again. And it was my coach that kind of, I'm kind of a smiley kid, just chilling, like, having fun. They're like, this is great. Like, ooh, smiling. And my coach, he's like this kind of hard-nosed Boston guy. And he's like, what the hell are you doing smiling, kid? Stop smiling. Stop puking. Stop puking, kid. Stop puking. And he nicknamed me it was two brothers that were the coaches of the cross country and the track team, and they nicknamed me Smiley. Freshman year of high school. And, I was one of the worst kids on the team, slowest kids on the team, but I felt part of something. And I could, like, they were my mentors. They were my mentors through high school. I still consider them, kind of mentors and people that changed my life, because that was kind of the first time as, an adolescent that I felt like, oh, like I'm cool. Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a loser. I kind of was a nerdy kid and a dorky kid. I still am kind of a nerdy, dorky dude. But like that made me feel like, oh, I belong somewhere. Right.
Yeah.
And I became, I was like part of the team. I was one of the slowest kids on the team, but I mattered. And I was like the cheerleader and the kind of the pump up person. And I was a big part of the team. I was captain of the team senior year, even though I wasn't going to win the first place in the race, but I was on the varsity team captain. And that was really kind of, for me, it's really telling. And so there was something about that kind of invitation that they created as kind of a coach. And, people I know feel this a lot with youth sports, or with, creative activities or theater or any activity, being part of something, being part of a group. But I think, I think about that for my high school self, but like, there's less of that for when you're an adult, of those invitations or places and things you can join where people are like, you're cool. Like, all right. Like, I see you.
Yeah. What message would you like say? I mean, and I don't usually ask a lot of questions on this, but I do have a question, just as you being a writer and you being a person who's out talking to people about, following their goals and following their dreams, and also now this work around friendship and loneliness. Like, as you have an 18-month-old who's still kind of figuring life out and he's learning everything, like what is a lesson that you are trying to leave behind for him, right? As you know, yeah, I'll just leave it really open-ended. Is that kind of...
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes back to something you were saying about the comparison. I think, the thing I worry most, not just for Luca, but for young people in general in this world, is like growing up in the digital sphere, in the digital world. I feel for these kids, man. I like, I grew up, had AOL Instant Messenger. I think at one point we had Oregon Trail, the computer game. You remember that? That's how I mean, I'm not that old, but that's how we were like kind of playing on computers, but it was just like, it was like something you did, like, I don't know, like for an hour during like recess or something. Like they had 5 computers in the room at the school, right? Yeah. Not like it is today. We didn't, like I didn't get a phone until I was in college, after college almost. So I feel for these kids that are growing up in a world where things are like happening so quickly. There's 5,000 things to look at. They got to have a personal brand before they even know who they are. Yeah. So what I would say to Luca, my 18-month-old nephew, is just play with your friends, discover who you are. Like, don't let that noise, that chatter get in the way of you, being what you want to be, because I think what happens is it's really hard to hold that truth, that kind of, I love this, or I want to do this. And then when you try to fit it into what's cool or what everyone else is doing, yeah, or what's hot on TikTok or what's hot on Instagram or what everyone, that's really hard. So I would say, Luca, just give yourself that space, that freedom to explore and be your true self.
Thank you for that, brother. I want to appreciate you for coming on here today and chatting and talking about these masks. I think one of the things that we find when men come to the show, or even young men, we're trying to get more of our young men to the show, because we want them to hear from the voices of not only of other young men, but for also older men who recognize that I got a good job and I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to be a good person in the world, but I'm also human.
Yes.
And I'm also this job, having the job and having a career is important and valuable, but there's more to me. It's more to me. And I think that when we can give ourselves permission to accept that and be accepted in knowing that there's so much more. There's so much more to my LinkedIn profile. There's so much more to my Facebook, whatever, like there's so much more to me. And I think that when we get stuck believing that is, if I don't have everything in there, then I'm not enough, that's what we try and do. And so
yes,
as people are wanting to connect with you, like how about we do this? Is there anything last thing you want to say?
Well, I just want to say on that point, like, yes, thank you for that. And thank you for the work that you do and have been doing for 16 years, or probably knowing you probably 20, 25 years, actually, maybe not officially, but actually for a lot longer than that. And the work you continue to do, because creating a space where young men and men can be vulnerable and get in touch with their emotions and be their full selves and be full human beings is crucial, is essential, is, I believe, one of the fundamental challenges of our generation and of making sure that we have a sustainable future. And I agree with what you said. And it's like, you can be a happy man and still go through sad times. You can be a successful man and still not know what you're doing. You can be an expert and still have lots of questions and have days where you're lost and where you don't know the answers and where you're, feel like you're in first grade. Like, that's the whole thing. That is the full spectrum. So thank you for teaching me that and creating that space for us to talk about it. So thank you.
Thank you, bro. Tell people how they can find you.
Tell me how.
And I know the book is coming out soon, so tell them how they can get it and all that.
Check out the book, Friendship in the Age of Loneliness. You can get it on Amazon. You can buy it now, pre-order it, or get it May 4th at Amazon, bookshop.org, local books, or wherever you buy books. Check me out on Instagram at What's Up Smiley, on LinkedIn, Adam Smiley Poswolsky, or my website, smileyposwolsky.com.
And we'll put all that in the chat and then in the comments, and so people can find you. Man, I appreciate you. I'm excited about this new one coming out. I'm excited to get one for myself and for our young men. We have a Social Emotional Leadership Academy this summer, and I think part of our topic this summer, and maybe we'll have you come and talk to some of the young men this summer.
It'd be my honor.
Right on, man. Well, folks, thank you for being a part of the Taking Off the Mask podcast. If you want to make a mask, you can go to 100kmask.com and do that. Smiley, thank you for being on the show with us today. Everybody, we'll see you soon. See you next time. Thank you,
Ashanti. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother. If what you heard today you enjoyed, if you've listened to this and you found something inspiring, please like and subscribe to this podcast. That's the best way for someone to find this podcast, maybe like you did. Please tell someone about it. If you know, listen to some of our previous episodes, and if one of them rings out to you, please share it with somebody you know. We also invite people to join us in a face-to-face where they come together with another person to make a mask and talk about that mask together. There's short conversations, about 20, 30 minutes. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please send us a message, send us in the comments below, let us know that you're interested in that. And we look forward to you joining the movement of the Million Mask Movement. And check out our new shirt. I don't know if you can see it, but this is our new shirt, the Million Mask Movement. And so we'll have these soon available, but we look forward to you being a part of the movement and supporting our work. Please consider supporting the work that we do in Ever Forward and in the work that we do in the Million Mask Movement to let people around the world realize that they're not alone. Thank you.